Okay, so here we are on page 179 of your math book. We're still on lesson 1 of unit 5. It covers a lot of stuff, so I split it into 2 videos today, but you will need to watch both of the videos in order to complete your assignment on math expressions. This chart that you're looking at right now is really helpful. You might want to put a bookmark or a post-it note in this part of your math book because it will help you. You can pull it out during quizzes, anything you want. Let's look at it really carefully. So in the middle of the chart, we see the word meter. We know that that's our unit of length when we're working in the metric system. So this is our center. And again, remember that that meter is going to be the distance between your fingertips. Basically, if you hold your arms straight out on either side of your body, that's about a meter. Of course, it's not perfect, but it kind of gives you an idea. So we've got the meter there. And then moving on this chart, we can move to either larger measurements, and it's kind of funny because when you go to the left, it's actually a larger unit, or to the right, we can go to smaller units. Remember the teeny tiny millimeters that we looked at, or the centimeters or decimeters. Now you might think it's weird because moving to the right and actually getting a smaller little unit of measurement, the reason is because if you think about it, that space between your fingertips, how many centimeters would it take to fill up that space? A lot more than 1, right? Or millimeters, it would take even more. So the reason that we're moving to the right and the numbers are actually going to get bigger is because you need more of those tiny little units to fill up that space. So it's really important to look at this and think, okay, I know that the numbers get bigger if I move to the right, and the numbers get smaller if I move to the left, but the units are actually tinier units if I move to the right, and bigger units if I move to the left. Took me a while to figure that one out, so let that one sink in. Pause the video if you need to. Number 14, what words do you know that can help you remember what the prefixes mean in the metric system? So this is just trying to give us a little pause to think about how are we going to remember all these words? Some of them you might already be familiar with. I have a feeling you've probably already heard kilometer before. And remember that kilometer is that big one. It's 1,000 meters. Most people kind of think of it like a mile, but it's actually smaller than a mile. But you could still have that in your head because that's kind of a base. Oh, okay, we're talking about something big. These two people hardly ever use. You're going to be using them during your math lessons because when we convert, they are steps in the conversion process. Hectometer and decameter. So remember, both of these units are bigger than a meter, but the numbers are going to be smaller. Okay, now let's go over here to decimeter. Again, that's not one that we see very often, but we did look at it earlier in this lesson. And remembering that a decimeter is about like this. So if you kind of put your hand out, the space between your thumb and your tip of your first finger, that's going to be your decimeter. I don't really have awesome ways to think about these or to memorize these. So if you do, I would love it if you would put them in our private comments. I do remember centimeter because it's about as wide as a penny. If I had 1 penny here, 1 cent, and I put it on my ruler, it would be about that. Actually, it would probably be bigger, but at least it would give me an idea, something to remember it by. And then remember, a millimeter is super, super tiny. Number 15, how do the lengths of the different units relate to each other? So this is leading us to the math that we're going to learn with this. And it's all about multiplying by 10 or dividing by 10. So let's look a little bit more carefully at this chart. If I'm going from 1 meter and I'm wanting to convert it to decimeters, what am I going to multiply 1 times? Right, I'm going to multiply it by 10. See how it says times 10 there? And then this chart also just reminds you, don't forget, decimeters are actually smaller, even though when you convert, you're going to get a larger number. Okay, so then if I want to convert 1 meter to centimeters, look at this. It's not times 10 anymore. It's times 10 times 10. What do we know about 2 tens? If you did 10 times 10, what number would that be? It would be 100. Oh, okay, so actually, could you do 1 times 100 to get to centimeters? Yes, you could. So thinking about the amount of zeros, I would add 1 0 after the 1 to convert to decimeters, 1 hop over. I would add 2 zeros to convert to centimeters, and I would add, you guessed it, 3 zeros to convert to millimeters. Again, if this seems confusing, it is. It's tricky. So we're going to do our best with it, but you are required to know how to move one unit and convert it to the other units by adding zeros. Now, if we go the other way, it's different. So this is where your knowledge of decimals is really going to come into play. Remember how we can write 1 like that in decimals? Well, if I'm going to take this decimal point and move it backwards, because now I'm going to the left and I'm going to move it 1 over there, then a decameter, if I'm going to convert 1 meter to a decameter, it would be 1/10 of a decameter. And then I move that decimal point 1 more time to the left. Now it's going to be, a hectometer is going to be 1/100th of a meter. And then a kilometer is going to be 1/1000th of a meter. So you can see that you wouldn't have, 1 meter would not take up much space, and so 1 kilometer is 1/1000th of a meter. All right, so really take your time, study this chart, ask adults around you if you need help. They can give you some help with this as well. There's some more questions on this page that you're going to get later in your math expressions lesson. How many millimeters are in 1 meter? Well, if I look at my conversion here, 1 meter, and I want to convert to millimeters. Now, get your finger, and if you have your chart in front of you, go ahead and put it in the middle of the chart. I'm gonna teach you the hop method. So we're moving to millimeters, and we're gonna count how many hops we have to go from meters to millimeters. Ready? 1, 2, 3. 3 hops. So if I'm looking at that 1 meter, when I'm moving to the right, all I'm doing is adding zeros for every hop. So I'll put my 1 in there. And then how many hops did we say it was? We said 3 hops. So that means I need to put 3 zeros in there. 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. Okay, did I put that in the right spot? Yes, I did. Okay, how many meters are in 1 kilometer? So this time, let's count our hops, but we know that there's kilometer and there's meter, so we have to count our hops going to the left this time. Okay, so I'm starting on meters. 1, 2, 3. Again, 3 hops, but going in the other direction. We actually should have started on kilometer there, I just realized, because we're starting on kilometer and changing it or converting it to meter. So it's the same amount of hops, but we'll start on kilometer. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so interestingly enough, 4th graders, 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. Look at that. Look at the beauty of that. I know we talk a lot about how math is really beautiful. There's a lot of symmetry in math. This is kind of interesting. The metric system really lends itself to a lot of that symmetry. Those of you who like to find patterns are going to find a lot of patterns in this lesson. Okay, how many centimeters are in 1 meter? Again, we're practicing this as many times as we can because this is a tricky concept. Okay, so starting on meter, first of all, I want to look where I'm going. Just like if you were jumping in real life, you'd want to look before you leap, right? So there's a centimeters over there. So I'm going to start on meters, and I'm going to see how many hops it takes to get to centimeters. 1, 2. Okay, 2 hops. I know that hops equal zeros in this case. So 1 meter equals, I'm going to stick my 1 there, and then my 2 zeros, 100 centimeters. Number 19 is an interesting question. Some people disagree with this. What makes the metric system easy to understand? I tend to agree with it. I think the metric system is easy because of all the zeros. I can multiply by 10. I can multiply by 100. Those are really easy facts for my brain to handle. So in that way, it makes it easy. Okay, on the last page of this lesson, you're looking at a lot more conversions. So let's try a couple of them. We'll be flipping back to the chart on the page before. You can use a table to convert measurements. Number 20, how many decimeters are in 1 meter? Okay, so now let's go back. They told us the meter, so always start with the one you know. We know we're looking at 1 meter. Then we go to the how many. That's the part we're going to look ahead at. Well, it asked us how many decimeters. So look before you leap. There's the decimeters. How many hops? 1, only 1. So how many zeros do 1 hop equal? 1 0. So again, you just put that 1 there, you keep the 1, and then you just add zeros. So how many decimeters are in 1 meter? 10. And we actually answered that earlier in the lesson. Remember when I got out my pink highlighter? That was 10 decimeters. Number 21, complete the equation 1 meter equals how many decimeters? Well, that is a bit repetitive. Complete the table. Explain how you found the number of decimeters in 8 meters. If you have time, go ahead and go through this table. It should make a lot of sense because you already have the first row, and then you can just finish the rest of the rows. You'll probably have to do that on your math expressions lesson anyway. You might notice that I'm kind of moving through this because I don't want these videos to take too long today. There's a lot of content in here. Number 23, complete the equation. 1 kilometer equals how many meters? Okay, again, before I even go to my chart, where am I going to put my finger first? Which one do I know already? I know the kilometer. Good. I don't know the meters. That's the blank. So that's where I'm going to be leaping to. All right, kilometers to meters. So first I'm putting my finger on kilometers, and then I'm going to look before I leap. Where are the meters? Oh, they're way over there. Okay, here I go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so how many zeros? 3 zeros. So I'm going to put my 1 and then 3 zeros. After a while, you're going to start memorizing these. 1,000 meters equals 1 kilometer. There are 100 centimeters in 1 meter. But for now, just use your chart. Use it all the time. Remember, we are all about fingers. Using fingers in math, your body literally has a tool dangling off of its side. You need to use it. So make sure that you are using those to help your brain keep organized. Number 24, label the double number line to show how kilometers and meters are related. So we've got our kilometers across the top. This is just filling in a pattern. I think you guys will get that just fine. And then there's some word problems. I want you to read those over carefully, see if you can figure them out. We will be talking about these more in our small groups, but I'm going to keep those blank for now. All right, fourth graders, this was a lot. This is a big lesson. It's kicking off our unit on metric, so do your best and let me know if you have any questions.